look at insurance. We thank you that Sandra has been able to be with us this morning. I'm asking that you be with her, that everything she says, it will be from you. Thank you for hearing this prayer. Amen. So this morning we have Sandra from ARM, Adventist Risk Management. She looks after the British, is it the TD or just the British Union? And okay, yeah, she looks after quite a few unions, 3 out of the 3 divisions, absolutely. Whenever we have a query with like general liability or anything property insurance through the conference, we send the information to ARM, and Sandra is the lady that deals with it. So we are very grateful that you are here, and I know we have a short time, and I know that many people have questions, and I'm not sure we'll be able to answer all of them, but we do thank that you are here, and then hopefully afterwards, if there are more questions, we can try and get through to them, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. For me, it's a pleasure being here with you, and I'm so sorry I couldn't be here before. I just came back from the Inter-European Division year-end meetings, and I needed just a little breathing, and that's why I couldn't be here Friday and yesterday and Sabbath. But I'm happy to be here today, and we are going to talk a little bit about insurance and risk management. I'm not going to bore you with too many details of the insurance policy, but I'm going to emphasize some aspects that I think would be interesting for you. Is that okay? But before we go into that, I just wanted to ask if you have ever completed a puzzle in your life. Have you? Let me see the hands. Yes? Yeah, puzzles are fun, right? I love puzzles. But the most annoying thing is when there is a piece missing, right? It spoils the whole picture, even if it's only one piece. Do you agree with me? Yes. And what I want you to remember today is that risk management is like a puzzle. And each one of us is an important piece. We all have a part to play in that aspect. All right, so let us see. First of all, we are going to ask, what is church? We are talking risk management for churches. What is church? People, yes. Assets, yeah, very good. So you got it. You know, we have buildings, our properties, our contents is church, right? By the way, do you recognize the church? Oh. Well, according to Google, and according to Google, it's Oldham Church. Yes. Yes? Oh, okay. So Google all right, got it right. That's it. Anyone from that church? No, not here. Okay. Yes, churches, buildings, the contents, this is church, but also, as you have, said, people. People is the most precious asset in our churches, and we want to protect both aspects, right? So we are going to have another question that is very important. We're talking about risk management for churches. What is risk?
Hindrance to you doing your job, because the people in church, you work too much, don't bother.
Yes, you see, and that's when I say it's like a puzzle. They also have a part to play, right? Yes, that's right. So what is risk? For this, in this context, because risk can have different meanings, but in this context, the most simple way to define, to explain what risk is this one. Risk is the possibility of something bad happening. The possibility. So that means when you cross the road, is there a possibility of something bad happening? When you go up down the stairs, when you're having your breakfast, when you are clicking your emails, right? Paula just put us on the alert there, right? And by the way, I'm not an IT person, but my company is very hot on IT and security and so on. And the IT team in the Adventist Risk Management told us, be very careful with WhatsApp. Do you use WhatsApp? Yes, they said they, not me, but they could hack WhatsApp in about 10 minutes. So don't send bank details, don't send sensitive information, just be careful, right? You can use WhatsApp, but use it carefully, right? Coming back here, risks are all around us, risks are everywhere. And do you know what? We manage them all the time. Before crossing a road, what do you do to minimize the possibility of something bad happening? What do? Look left and right. Cross on a zebra crossing. Wait for the pedestrian green light. We do that all the time, right? So it's just learning to do that in a church context, in the church environment. Okay, so we are going to go into that, first talking about church property and later on about people, okay? So church property, I mean buildings and contents, your chairs and tables, projectors, laptops, keyboards, and things like this, right? So bad things can happen to our church properties. And that's when insurance is a piece of that puzzle that helps in case there is something really bad that happens. But that does not excuse us from minimizing the possibility of that happening. Okay? So what are the risks? Tell me that the church property, damage, stolen, burglary, theft. Okay, let's talk about theft. What can we do to minimize that? Burglaries. Say it again. Keep things locked away. Camera system. If yes. Very good. Careful with the keys. How many people in your church have keys? You know, the more people have keys, the more risk there is. So control that. Make sure, only the people who really need the key will have them. Have a procedure in place for everybody who has a key. They have to remember, check all the windows before you leave. Check all the windows, check all the doors, make sure it's well locked and so on. So yeah, we can do that, right? That's risk management. Very good. That's about theft. What about vandalism? Sometimes we have, our churches are in places that are very prone to that. How can we minimize that risk? Cameras, maybe floodlights. So, with the sensor, as people pass by, there is light. So you can put gates. There are things that we can do. Very good. And someone mentioned damages, right? And as I said, when there is a big damage, insurance is there. Of course, we will work within the frame of the policy, so as according to the terms and conditions of the policies, right? But we can do something to minimize that possibility of something bad happening. And one of the ways of doing that is maintenance. Actually, maintenance is an exclusion of the policy. So if there is damage because of lack of maintenance, insurance is not going to pay. Okay? So please remember that. And it's so important to maintain our churches. But I know we don't have money. Right? Do you have spare money like this in your churches? Well done for those who do. But that's not the case of everybody. This is why we suggest to have a maintenance program throughout the year. And we have prepared at ARM a checklist for each season. So, for example, let me show you. We have the winter checklist. And obviously, this is very general. Not all the questions will apply to all the churches, but you can adapt very easily to your local church. So one of the questions there is, are the handrails, doors, and windows secured? So before winter, this is what we are going to check. It's not going to be a 12-hour job in church doing that. No, because we have specific things we are going to do and look for. Another question right at the bottom. Has the air been bled from radiators? That's in preparation for the winter, right? So we have a checklist. Go through it. Go through it with your... Is that something for the treasurers to do? But you can be involved and you can say, come on, deacons, deaconesses, elders, leaders, let's do that because this is going to save money. This is going to affect our financial in the church. Okay, so that's why treasurers are also involved. Remember the puzzle. Everyone has a piece, a part to play. So we have for spring, summer, and autumn. Some checklists are longer than others, but it's there. Okay, you have a question? Yes, it is available on our website, and if you don't find it there, contact the NEC, and they will, in collaboration with us, make it available to you. Yeah, all right, so we have it there. Yeah, that's good. So this is something that can help minimize the damages. And remember, even if there is a damage, because lack of maintenance, insurance is not going to pay. It's an exclusion. This is a clause in our property insurance policy about vacant properties. The policy defines vacant property if the building has 70% of its square meterage not used. So if you are using regularly just one little room in the building, your property may be considered vacant. What is the impact of that? The first 60 days, it's fine. If there is a damage caused by a covered loss, insurance will pay. But after 60 days, there is a limitation. That means if there is damage caused by a covered loss, insurance will pay only part of it. And the church will have to pay the other part. So pay attention to that and what to do. What to do? Don't worry. We are looking after you. Your conference is looking after you. So what to do? Tell the conference, call the NEC and say, oh, I think our church is empty for whatever reason. And do you know what? If we have measures in place, and if you comply with certain conditions, for example, leave all the internal doors open to allow air circulation, or leave the heating at a low temperature but don't switch it off. Or, there are some conditions. If you comply with them, then if there is damage caused by a covered loss, the insurance will pay normally as if the building was not vacant. Okay? So that's just a matter of communication, connectiveness, connecting with the conference, saying, this is happening here in our church, and then we can tell you what are the conditions, you do it, and that solves that problem. Is that okay? Excellent. Now, let's talk about people. How do we protect people? Well, bad things can happen to people in our churches, and those are injuries mainly, right? I I'm going to show you an image of a church. Churches should be a safe place. Do you agree? Yes. Is your church a safe place? Well, it should be, right? Let's have a look at this church over here. What can you see? I hope the people at the back can see. Yes. So have you noticed the wrinkled carpet here? Wrinkled carpet or torn carpet. My days, you catch your foot and you can get hurt, right? Wet floor, especially in the weather like that. Invest in those signs. You know those yellow signs that we see in supermarkets and things like this that says wet floor? Invest on them. Leave it there, because then people will see and they will walk more carefully, right? This is a way of protecting our people. What about cables across the pathway? Every Sabbath? Shouldn't. So there are ways we can cover it with those rubber covers, you see what I mean? Or tape them down. Your IT team. You see how it's a puzzle? Everyone plays a part there. Everyone helping. Yes, now it's Christmas season and some churches have candles. Oh, just be careful not to have it near a curtain or something like this. Have you noticed this? It's an overload. That's a fire hazard, right? And there is so many things. Oh, the beautiful, I love baptisms, right? Does your pastor use a microphone in the baptistry tank? Yes. And the overflowing of the water right on top of the plugs, right? An elderly member going down the stairs, and he doesn't have a handrail to hold on to. Be careful there. What else can we see? That one there? Oh, my days. You may say, that's the parents' responsibility. Do you know what? As leaders of the church, it's our responsibility as well. So we need to make sure that balcony is high enough so children cannot fall over. Have you noticed this one here? That's again, you may say that's a parent's responsibility. Well, let us all work together to protect our people, right? And it's just a matter of standing a Sabbath morning, having a look and say, what can go wrong here? What bad thing can happen? And then do something about it, right? How to protect you? How to protect our treasurers? Wow, the silence. How do we protect our treasurers? By having procedures in place when you count the offerings and the tithes and so on. So, when you verify the cash received, the offerings, don't count it by yourself. Have someone else doing that. Or maybe you don't do that. Maybe it's the deacons who count the offerings, right? But you, as a treasurer, you are responsible to say, brother, have somebody else counting with you. Not because we don't trust people, not because we don't trust the deacons or we don't trust you. It's because we want to protect. Is that correct? We want to protect people. So always have more than one person, and ideally not closely related. Right. Can someone from Treasury respond? What do you do when you get foreign money? Yes.
and they miscounted that.
Oh,
Or
yes. Well, you have to, someone has to be checking, right? Someone has to be checking, checking. Yeah. All right. So do, make sure you have more than one person checking and keep a written record. Date, that's the date. This is how much we received, and this name and signature of the people who counted, and keep that in a safe place, right? Do your financial reports. Financial reports regularly, present them to your church board. That helps it within the trust and transparency, right? Someone had a question, yes. Is that 7 years? Can someone, yes, Aftab. How many? 4 years. You see, I was saying 7. 4 years. Okay? All right. So the financial reports are important. It's, promotes transparency and trust, and also the financial audits. That's the responsibility of the conference. But that is so important because not only we make sure that the money is being used as it should, but it also protects you as church treasurers. Okay? That's really important. So, there you are. Talking about money. This is an add-on to your property insurance, money and securities, also known as crime coverage. What is it? It's when you are taking the money to the bank, and what if you are robbed, the money is stolen? Well, your property insurance has provision that to replace that money. And that is free of charge. You are not paying any additional premium because of that. We are giving it to you because we know that's important. And how do we calculate how much money are we going to save? How much money are we going to protect? That's what I mean. How much money? Well, this is how we do. It's based on the insured value of the contents in your church. Not the building, the contents. So 30% of that value will be the limit for crime cover of our monies and securities. You don't pay any premium for that. Okay, so if your church has £10,000 in contents cover, what is 30% of that? 3,000. So up to 3,000 is covered. If the money is stolen, if anything happens, insurance will replace that. Okay? Now, what if you say, my days, we don't have a building, we don't have content insured because we meet in the Baptist church and we rent our place. What do we do? Our money is not protected? Well, it can be. It can be. It's not going to be free, but it will cost £15 per year. And that will give you a protection up to £3,000. Okay, so what do? Talk to who? To the conference. Talk to the NEC and say, hey, just making sure, is our money covered? And the NEC, in collaboration with ARM, will tell you if your money is covered or not. Okay? So talk to the NEC. I have a hand. It's as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Well, as soon as you can. That's my answer. You can take the money home and as soon as possible, bank it. That would be good, yes, because if the money is lost or stolen in the way, the insurance would not replace it. So you do need that insurance. Oh, no. No, if you take it home, we will consider it. And this is the beauty of an insurance that is part of our church, because that's not all insurance companies that will do that, but we will consider that when you take the money home, the money is in transit to go to the bank. But please don't keep the money, we want to minimize the risks. So bank it as soon as possible, okay?
Should we be careful who we give this money to if the treasurer is not there?
It needs to be an authorized person. It needs to be an authorized person. You're not going to give it to any person. Okay, it needs to be an authorized person. Okay? Authorized by the church board, and say the treasurer is not in, so there will be that person that will be collecting the money and banking it. Okay? I will. Okay. All right. We will move on then. The NEC has many different policies. So we've been talking about property policy, and I highlighted a few aspects. I highlighted the money and securities, the vacant property. I highlighted that maintenance is an exclusion under the property policy. But property is not the only one, right? Your conference has purchased on your behalf the liability policy. It's in place, and that protects members of the public, and members of the church are also members of the public, so they are all included there, if the church is negligent. So negligence is a key factor within the liability policy. For example, if your carpet is torn or wrinkled, someone trips over and gets injured, is the liability insurance that will be triggered. If you have a brick in your building that is loose, you know about it, no one does anything about it, and there are strong winds, that brick falls on someone's car, that car may belong to a church member or may belong to anybody, doesn't matter. The liability policy will pay for the repair when there is negligence, because the church was negligent by not fixing that brick. Do you understand? There you are. But the liability insurance is already in place. Your church doesn't need to request, doesn't need to buy. The conference has it on your behalf. Now, if you have an event in your church and you say, oh, do we need liability insurance? Don't worry, it's already there, already in place. But sometimes you have an event somewhere else, and the owner of that place asks you, do you have liability insurance? Then you need to prove. What do? Call the conference. Well done. Call the conference, say we need a certificate that proves that we have cover. So so kindly, you have this pack in your, right? So if you need, you are going to fill in this form, send it to the conference, because the conference needs to sign. Why is that? Why do we need to send to the conference? Because the conference is the policy holder. The conference is the policy holder. So us as insurance, we cannot do anything when the church is asked. We need the policy holder to give us instructions. So that's the reason why. Send to the conference. They will tell us, and we will send you a certificate. It's very important to fill in all the parts. When the event was approved by the church board, it's important. This is a risk management measure. We want to make sure that event was actually approved approved by the church. It's not like one member saying, do you know what? Shall we have a weekend somewhere else? And that member goes. We want to make sure it's approved and authorized activity. And usually the venues, the people asking for proof of liability, they will tell you the limit they want. Sometimes they'll say 1 million. Sometimes they'll say 5 million. 5 million is becoming more and more common. Do you know what? It's no problem. You are covered. We can issue that certificate. Okay, so that's it. So you have all the information there. Another policy that the conference has is volunteer labor, and that protects those who are actively giving their time to help the church in authorized activities. Doesn't matter if they are church members or not. So I give you an example. Let us say that the church board said, we on Sunday, such and such date, we are all getting together for a maintenance day, for a cleaning day. It's going to be spring cleaning and whatever. So we all come, the church members come, and some people who are not church members come also. And we are thankful. It's another pair of hands. Wonderful. So they all come. Let us say that a church member and a known member have an accident. It's not the church's negligence. So we are not going to trigger the liability policy. It's an accident. Accidents happen. They both break their legs. Let us say that they both are Uber drivers. And because they have a broken leg, they cannot drive. And they lose income. Do you know what? The volunteer labor policy has a provision, and it will cover 80% of the weekly income, or $475 per week, whichever is less. Because this is a policy that our General Conference has available for all the worldwide churches, so it's in dollar. Okay? But it's available for these conferences, so that will be the equivalent in pounds, the equivalent of 475, if it's less than 80% of your weekly income. And that can be up to 1 year, you know, if the person cannot drive again in that example. All right? So there is cover available for members and for non-members, as long as they are actively giving their time to help in an authorized activity. Yeah, understood? Sure. Yes, the church is having...
The church is having its redecoration day. Is there an age limitation for things like ladders and things like that?
Yeah, well, you have to use your common sense and see what is, you know, some members are very elderly. We don't recommend them going up and down ladders. Others are too young and they can fall. So, yes, that is risk management in your churches. So,
don't go for ladders more than 3.
Yes, it depends, right? Because there are people who are 60, but they have certain health conditions or health issues that it's better for them not to go up a ladder. So it depends on your context, but keep it in mind what is safe for the people, right? Very good. So that is volunteer labor. We also have pathfinders. Now, there is a difference here. Volunteer labors and liability policies, your conference has already bought it on your behalf. But pathfinders, it's up to your church to buy. You have to request. Yes, you have to contact the conference, contact the NEC, and the NEC will purchase. Not an automatic policy that all the churches will have. Okay? Very good. And that protects adventurers, pathfinders, and their leaders. Good. You also, oh, yes? One hand here and another there. I think that one first, sorry.
I just wanted to find out with Pathfinders, sometimes we have trips and we do not use one transport, but parents transport their own children. How are we covered in that respect?
Yes. The Pathfinders policy covers the Pathfinder from when he leaves or she leaves their home to a planned activity and on their way back. So even if the parents are taking them, they are protected all the way from when they leave their home to the activity and back. Okay, another question.
I think my question was almost similar to the last question, but I wanted to find out, does it cover all the activities that the Pathfinder Club does? Because they do lots of activities.
Yes, as long as they are planned with, the Pathfinder leadership planned them. Yes, all the activities, the regular activities during Sabbath or Sunday or special trips, all that. One more question.
Sorry, you just covered the Pathfinder. What about the parent?
The parent is, if they are enrolled in the Pathfinder Club as helpers or as leaders, yes. But if they are not enrolled, when you buy the Pathfinder policy, you have to say the number of people. If the parents are included in that, yes. If they are not, they're not covered. All right. Is that okay?
Yeah, I was going to say, but with certain things, doesn't subrogation rights come into it? So a primary policy will cover it and it's subrogated back against the conferences. That's how it should work with some of the things that we're talking about.
Sometimes we do go through subrogation, not all the time. That will be the claims examiner will determine that. Yes. All right. So, activities accident is also one that the churches will have to buy. That's not an automatic cover already in place. And that protects all those going on outings, on retreats, choir congress, youth weekend, all that sort of thing. But you have to request that. You have here, you have in your pack a summary of that policy. So you will see there are options, and each option will have a different limit of coverage. So you can choose the option. And for option 1, you will see for option 1, for up to 8 days away, it will cost 54 cents of the dollar per person. And again, it's in dollar. Why? Because it's a general conference policy that is available to all churches worldwide. 54 cents of the dollar per person. It's covered up to 8 days. So you have the prices, you have the different limits of the coverage. You can have a look at it in your own time when you have time. Yes? Oh no, that's for anybody who is part of that outing. It can be for non-members as well. If they are going to on a spiritual retreat and they are with you, they are covered as well. Yes, yes. And you have to know if you want to. This is not like compulsory. It's up to you to see, okay, you have those benefits, but you know what? We have NHS. If there is any problem, NHS will cover. So maybe you don't want this. Okay, so it's for you to see. If you want to buy that, it's available. Okay? Yes, before I talk about submitting a claim, you just seen that there are different policies available. So if there is an accident in your church, an incident, rather than going to a solicitor and suing the church, I'm not saying that because we want to get away from our responsibilities. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm saying that because if we go through solicitors, we will have to have a solicitor as well, and it costs. And that's money that could be used somewhere else. Court costs are very expensive. So I'm not saying that because I'm saying don't. I'm just saying think before, because there are policies in place to protect you, to protect the church members anyway. And we are not going to say, can we find a way not to pay? Actually, we try to find a way to pay because we want to help. Obviously, within the frame of the policy, so we are not going to pay for all claims. There will be some who will be denied if they are not within the scope of the policy. But if we can find a way, we will. So, an accident happens, an incident happens, call the NEC. If you remember this, that would be great. Call the NEC. The NEC, in collaboration with ARM, we will see which policy is going to be triggered. Is it liability? Is it volunteer labor? Is it property? Is it Pathfinder? Is it activities accident? We will see what policy is triggered. And the money will be better used if we don't spend that money with solicitors, with court cases. Do you understand? Did you understand what I meant? Right? Thank you. So let's talk about submitting a claim, the reporting process. First thing you do is, I'm so happy. I think I achieved my goal here. First thing you do, contact the NEC. Always, always, always. And then you're going to fill in a claim form, depending on the policy. Could be a liability claim form, property, Pathfinder, or whatever. We will give you the proper claim form to fill in. Please note that you have to provide evidence of the loss. So if you are talking about a property damage, take pictures or video of the loss. That will help. If you are talking about a theft, if you have a police report, submit that police report. So you need to show evidence of the loss. So gather as much evidence as possible. And if we are talking about property damage, quotes for the repair or replacement. If your church laptop was damaged, take a photo of the damage. Go to a technician, say, can we repair it? How much would it be? The technician would say, or he would say, unrepairable. So you need to provide the make, all the information about the laptop. Okay? So those are the things. But first and foremost, contact the NEC. I have a question there. Well, 3, but if you get 2, will be great. Ideally 3, but 2 will be already good. Okay? Another question here. The question was how many quotes we need to provide for the repairs and replacement.
Is there an excess on the policy?
Yes, thank you. Yes, there is an excess on the policy, and your policy has a £500 excess. Thank you for that question. £500. Another thing that is very important, you have the duty to prevent further damage. So if your window at church is broken, you need to do something about it to prevent people coming in and stealing things, to prevent the rain, the water coming in and damaging even further. So you need to spend, sometimes, not always, but you need to do something to prevent further damage. That's your duty. Right? That's your duty. Please remember. Now, If the claim is accepted and the examiner will say, yeah, the what caused that damage is a covered cause of loss, and if they pay for the damage, they will also pay for all those costs that you incurred by trying to prevent damage. So that will also be covered by insurance. But if the claim is not accepted, then there will be no payment for those things either. But it will be better for your church, because if you have to pay for the repair, you better control you don't want to pay for more than what it's already there, right? So bear that in mind. Yes, and I conclude by saying that together, each one of us, we have a part to play. We are a piece of that puzzle. And together we can protect our assets. And I'm talking about property, contents, money, people. And with the shared commitment, we can promote a safer and more connected journey. May God bless you in your ministry as treasurers, and bless your church. Amen.
Thank you, Sandra. Michael's had to pop out for a minute.
Can I just say that's odd to hear him saying Sandra? Because usually he says Mom.
So yes, it's often difficult to define what the relationship is. The Bible will say, "I am her son," rather than "she is my mum." So, oh, there you go. It either says something about me or. Okay, so there are a few minutes left for this session of the presentation. Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Yes, go ahead. I saw this hand first, and then the one at the back. Here at the front first. Yeah, well, here's close enough. Let's do this one.
Are there any no claims discounts?
Are they what?
Any no claims discounts?
Oh. Do you know, we try, well, good question. We try, and Wedderly knows that every renewal, when I send the quote, the proposal quote, we try to increase as little as we can. So we try to help the churches in that aspect. Unfortunately, we don't have a no claims policy.
Okay, I had a hand up just behind you, just at the back first, and then I saw a hand on the left, and then we'll go to your question there. Do you mind just handing the microphone just behind you? Thank you.
Under activities, would we consider small groups and those social activities that churches encourage as authorized activities? Because we do try and encourage even visitations as families. Are those considered church activities, and would we get specific cover for those? Do we need to fill in a specific activity if it's routine activities that occur throughout the year?
Yes, they would be considered authorized activities, but I don't see it as being covered. How would you define the time? Because these activity accidents, you provide a time period, 8 days, for example, or 15 days. If you're going to pay for a whole year, that's too expensive. You have volunteer labor for that. You don't need to pay activities accident policy. Though this is designed for a weekend, for a camp, for this sort of activities. Okay? Did I answer your question?
So the question is, should that be logged on the church board's minutes?
Yes, and as I said, this is part of the risk management measures, because when you say, oh, the young people are going for a camp this weekend, hopefully in a church board with so many people, someone will say, has anybody thought of this danger, of that danger, or then you talk about it. So it's part of risk management measure to have it discussed on church board and then have it approved. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you. There's a question here in the middle table.
Yeah, I've put maybe a couple of questions. First one, you talked about the minimum excess. So if it's something like a laptop which costs $450, and then we're saying that it's not going to be covered by that particular insurance.
Exactly. Yes. So it's not worth it submitting a claim.
And then the second question is, some of our churches are smaller, so we rent buildings. So what's the liability cover? Because the owners of the building might say you've damaged A, B, C, and D within the structures. Then how are we protected in terms of the liability insurance?
Good. So if it's established that your group caused that damage, because it could be theirs, right? But if it's established that our Adventist church caused the damage, the liability policy will cover the repair for that. And the policy is already in place.
And the last one is that there's a situation you mentioned about, I appreciate depositing the money as soon as you can, but it happens, again, in smaller churches. I'm away for work outside the country, come back, no one has deposited the money weeks later. Then how is the insurance actually treating that particular concept?
That's a tricky one, right? I don't want you to get relaxed and say, oh, we can take months to deposit the money, doesn't matter. It does matter, but we understand that there are things that happen that in that particular month that was not possible. So yes, we still say as soon as possible. And we understand if there are circumstances that play around. But please don't get relaxed. As soon as possible, okay? Thank you.
Okay, we have two more questions here that I saw first, and then we'll come back to the right-hand side. Oh, no, sorry. It's because you asked earlier. Sorry, was there a different question? Sorry, we'll go here first.
It's just going back to when we were talking about data being kept, and we mentioned about it being 4 years, and we looked into it.
I'll deal with that question in a moment after we've done the insurance questions and answers.
There you are.
Two more questions here on the front table, and I think those will probably be the last ones we can do. Oh, no.
Yes.
Might be able to do a few more.
Yeah, mine is in addition to the question regarding activities. I can give an example of activities that our church are doing at the moment. We meeting in members' houses, like there are 3 every Friday for Vespers. So those is kind of like maybe 3 houses, different members meeting at different places. So those are like that, the activities for the whole year. So how are those covered if they're coming to my house and somebody tripped as they come for the prayer meeting 7 to 8 every Friday? It's none.
Very good question. Risk management is a good thing. So if you are receiving the church members in your home, make sure everything is all right. If they are bringing children, if there are no ornaments, at their reach that you don't want to be broken, if there are, do your best. I'm not saying that you have to redecorate your home but do your best to minimize risks. And if while they are in your home, one of the church members damage your coffee table, and they damaged it, because they are there, and your property was damaged, and it was not your negligence, it was the organizing or it was the church negligence, liability insurance will be triggered. Okay?
Thank you.
Right? But it needs to be established that is the church's negligence. That is a main point for the liability insurance.
My question was to deal with inventory, and particularly the tech side of it, where the media team have all this
cables and I don't even know what it is, but they've got so much stuff going on, and it's so the turnover of buying it and purchasing it is quite often. So I'm wondering, how do we logically report this to the conference, and how often do we report it? Can we do it like every 6 months or every a yearly thing? Because it just seems to be like monthly, they're renewing stuff, they're buying more cables and all, I don't know.
Very good question. Thank you for that question. Now, we send, before the renewal, we ask if the value insured is appropriate. To facilitate for our churches, we don't ask an inventory. It's a good thing to have an inventory in your churches so you know the value that we need to insure, but we don't ask. The only thing that we ask is the value. So if you think £10,000 is enough to replace whatever you need to replace, £10,000. At the renew time, once a year, you say, I think we bought a lot more things. Let us increase it to 15,000. But it's a good thing, it's a good idea for your church to have the inventory. At least you have a better idea of the value. But for our insurance, that's not the same in other insurance companies, but for us, because we want to help the churches, just give us a total value, and whatever loss is within that value, and if it's a covered cause of loss, it will be covered.
Okay, we have one more question here on my right-hand side.
I just wanted to check about the Pathfinder insurance. Does that end up coming out of our church budget, or is it just covered by the conference?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know who pays for it. I don't know if the conference, yeah. Oh, someone has the answer?
So the question is, we just asked for, just to repeat the question, the question is, who pays for the Pathfinder insurance? Is it the local church or the conference? And Sir Becky has an answer for us. Can you do it into a mic, please, Becky, for the recording?
Listen, I was talking to our team. Actually, I talked to Pastor Equiza, so don't shoot me. At the moment, don't shoot me. However, at the moment is the NEC, but in future, you'll be thinking for the church to pay it because it's too expensive as well. Probably it's going to be 50-50. We don't know yet. But at this moment of time, all these years, it has been NEC. So in future, it can continue to be NEC, but we don't know for how long.
Thank you, Becky, and thank you, Sandra, for your presentation. Hopefully it was very informative. So, a question was asked earlier, how long do we need to keep financial records? Okay, so I'll give you the quick answer and then I'll explain. The quick answer is minimum of 6 years. So keep your financial records for a minimum of 6 years. The explanation is data records, yes, data records. All data records, thank you, yes. We're talking finances here, we're among treasurers, but you're absolutely right. Data records for your organization, for your local church, need to be kept for 6 years. That usually means 6 complete years, so 6 plus whatever you're in now. There are 2 4-year thresholds, though. One 4-year threshold, as you know, is the gift aid. We can only claim back gift aid claims up to 4 years. That's a different question to how long we keep our financial records. And the second one is, if HMRC were to investigate us for some kind of taxation, if that error is deemed to be completely and purely accidental, they can go back up to 4 years to determine the fine. There are further thresholds if those things are intentional or negligent. You go 6, 12, 20 years. But there are 2 4-year thresholds. However, the simple answer, as I started with, keep your records for 6 years, please. The other thing is, you've seen these on your desk. I did speak yesterday in my presentation about ACMS and 7Me. The ACMS Treasury module is what I focused on yesterday. I didn't have much time, so I didn't spend too much on it, but this is about the 7Me app. It's for members. Now, whereas we are phasing in the implementation of ACMS Treasury for this group, for the treasurers, 7Me is available immediately for all members. So it does several things. When you open this app, hopefully you've had a chance to download the app. It is live, it's available. It does several things. There are resources for your church members. There is a calendar of when your church programs need to happen, or not need to happen, do happen. For those of people like me who don't carry cash, I haven't carried cash in my pocket for at least about 10 years, if not longer. This gives donors, it doesn't have to be members and non-members alike, if they download the app, it gives them the opportunity to give tithe, to return tithe, to give offerings to your local church via the app. So you no longer need to carry cash. We are running parallel processes at the moment to make sure that this stuff, and local church offerings in particular, end up at your church. But over the next few years, we'll be implementing and phasing into this. It also puts, for your members and non-members, it puts their membership record in their hands. It gives them a link directly to what data does the church hold about you? You know, we hold membership names, dates of birth, addresses. Are those details correct? So it gives whoever downloads and signs into the app, it gives them direct access to what data is held about them on their app and on the giving history, up to 12 months of giving history. So all the donations that a member makes, they'll be able to see on the app. If your local church isn't on ACMS Treasury yet, they won't see donations that you record through your local church processes. They will only see their 7Me donations. But with time, as churches transition to this, they will be able to see their donation history no matter what route it takes. It can still come by cash, by checks, by app, by PayPal, by bank, doesn't matter. It will all be, members will be able to see that. It is on membership record. It's already the membership record is already on ACMS. What we're adding is Treasury. Oh yeah. This is more to do with Secretariat, but yes, the church address is on the system as well. So, anyway, we can't spend too much time on it. If there are questions, just come and see me afterwards, because otherwise we'll be eating into the next workshop. So if you do have questions, do come and see me. In the meantime.